A very warm welcome to everyone who's able to join us here today for the Reuben College Virtual Open Hour. You can see that I'm joined by the president of our college, Lionel Tarasenko, and some of our official fellows who are all very keen to talk with you today. We have two more fellows who will be joining us at some point during this meeting. In the virtual world, we have delays just like in real life, although we don't have national network rail to blame it on. So we're going to go ahead and start with an introduction from Lionel and a very warm welcome to everyone who can join us here today. Thank you, Lionel.
Thank you very much, Alison, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on which time zone you may be sharing yourself, sharing this meeting with us. I'm going to attempt to share my screen. This is always a heart-in-mouth moment. Can anybody else see my screen? I'll switch to full. Thank you very much, Janet, for nodding. Right, so I've switched to full screen. So you should see in the background the picture of where Reuben College is in the University of Oxford. On the right-hand side, you could just see the Jackson building, which dates from 1901, built by a very famous architect, sometimes called Oxford Jackson, because many of his buildings exist in Oxford. And on the left-hand side, you have the Worthington building, which was finished in 1931. And that's where the college is going to be located, with a glass link in between. And I'm Lionel Tarasenko. I've been an academic at the University of Oxford for 32 years. For 2 decades, Professor of Electrical Engineering, and now President of Reuben College. What you will find with all the people that talk to you today, like everyone else in the college, we have dual allegiance. We are members of a department and also fellows of Reuben College. And any potential graduate students listening in today or watching today will also be both a member of the college, if they join us, and a member of the department in which they will be doing their research. So why are we having a new graduate college, the 39th college in Oxford's history? You probably know, I'm sure you will have read the publicity somewhere, that back in September, a couple of months ago, Oxford was again ranked as the world's best university. And the rankings are, broadly speaking, computed on 60% research, 30% teaching, and 10% international reach. So 60% the rankings based on the research. And you'll have seen many examples wherever you are in the world of Oxford's research, whether it be the Oxford vaccine announced this week, on which one of the Reuben College fellows has been working since the beginning of January. She actually designed the vaccine one weekend in January. So there's been lots of publicity about our vaccine research. Oxford is very proud to have won the Nobel Prize in Physics through Sir Roger Penrose. So the research of Oxford has been very much in the news. And who does the research? Well, the academics, the fellows of Reuben College in their disciplines, but the people who really are the engines are the graduate students. And for that reason, Oxford made a decision about 4 years ago through a strategic plan to increase the number of graduate students there would be in the university. And the only way to do this was to create a new graduate college, the 39th college in the last 900 years since Oxford first started, in order to take in some of this increased numbers of graduate students. Where are we? Well, I've already shown you the buildings. I don't know whether on Zoom you can see my pointers. The picture I was showing you was, broadly speaking, taken from here. I showed you the Jackson wing, the glass link, and the Worthington building, that edge. So the two historic buildings are here. Our dining hall will also be here in the inorganic chemistry laboratory. But the point of this, we have this wonderful museum next door to us, Museum of Natural History, but beyond this square is effectively the university science area. This is one edge here, the south western edge of the science area. So we're right in the middle of the science area, near also to libraries and museums. The university parks this way to the north are a 5-minute walk, and that's why this road is called Parks Road. And the student accommodation is 10 minutes away on the Woodstock Road. At the moment, these historic buildings, you see again the Jackson building here from the other side and the Worthington building here, and our brand new quad are being refurbished. And yes, we've had some challenges because of COVID. And yes, it's going to be difficult to finish absolutely everything for next October, but we are working very, very hard. Here you can see what the first floor of this building. Here's the first floor, Jackson. It'll be a common room. Reuben College will be very egalitarian, so you'll have both students and fellows sharing the same common room. This is our dining hall that I was mentioning to you, which is roughly here in the building, and above you have one of the connecting spaces. And we have effectively 4 clusters now: artificial intelligence and machine learning, cellular life, environmental change, and one of our future clusters just been set up literally last week, an ethics and values cluster. And what we're going to be doing is setting up a program, lectures, seminars, reading groups, lots of interaction, some outreach as well, because we want to be outward looking, in which we want really the graduate students to be taking part together with the academics, the faculty of Reuben College. So who is Reuben College for? Well, as I've already mentioned, graduate students who may be here for 3 to 4 years studying for a PhD. We call them DPhils in Oxford, or a master's. And what we're trying to say to people who want to come is, we want you, first of all, to be a pioneer. You will be in a historic cohort of students. You'll be the first students in the university's 39th college. That will never be taken away from you. And you, in addition, have an opportunity to shape the culture and ethos of the whole college community. We want students who are interested in sharing their knowledge, looking at it in the college environment from alternative perspectives to maybe what they're doing in the labs or in their seminar series in their departments, and learning from other disciplines in this intellectual ferment that the college will be. And we'll put on a program. None of it will be mandatory. It'll be voluntary. We are very keen not to take you away from your research labs or departmental seminars, but the college will be open throughout the day for you to drop in for coffee, for you to come in for lunch, for you to stay for our very special dinners. And you'll have the facilities to really enjoy your time as a graduate student here in Oxford, and in particular in Reuben College. So just to finish off, for just over a minute, to tell you a little bit about the theme which I also represent, because that's my own research in artificial intelligence and machine learning. So within that, it's much broader than just a title. Of course, you have machine learning, and on the left here, there's a very recent image. It's actually the image from a CT scan of the lungs of someone suffering from COVID, and we've used machine learning to identify the pathologies that that person is suffering from as a result of having caught the COVID-19 virus. Computer vision in the middle is also very important. There are so many video streams, so many useful things that one can do by analyzing these real-time videos that are available nowadays in terabytes of data generated every day. And of course, Oxford is also world famous for its driverless vehicles in the Oxford Robotics Institute, which is a 3-minute walk away from Reuben College, and we wish we have strong links. Now, we are interested not in just the applications of AI and machine learning and the basic algorithms, but also all the ethical issues. Here, just to finish off, is a deepfake. Some of you who are British will recognize Rowan Atkinson. Mr. Bean, I think he's most known for throughout the world. As it happens, he's an Oxford graduate of my vintage in engineering, but here his image has been superimposed on that of Donald Trump. And I'm sure many of you are aware of deepfakes. So this is something you can do with AI and machine learning, but what are the ethical implications? those are the types of discussions will be held in Reuben College. There'll be many other topics. I've just picked one out literally this morning. This isn't set in concrete, but for example, many of you will be using wearables around your wrist, smartphone apps on your smartphone. These are consumer products. As AI machine learning researchers, we're interested maybe not just in consumer products, but how they might be used to deliver healthcare. So the sort of activities we'll put into the program, a networking event to put you in touch with all the spin-outs of Oxford, which are developing apps and machine learning. A series of seminars, for example, the healthcare requirements to do wearables and smartphone apps in both the developed and the developing world, the regulatory issues. Our film nights may be a bit dull. I was thinking, for example, of looking at product launches from Apple and other companies. And we want to listen to you as well. We'll run what is called a Dragon's Den, where we'll give you 5 to 10 minutes to tell us about your great idea to develop these wearables and smartphone apps for the application of your choice. So that's a very quick 10-minute walkthrough, both an introduction to the college and the AI machine learning theme. And I'm now going to hand over to my colleague, Emily Flashman, who is going to tell you about the environmental change theme. Emily, please.
Thanks, Lionel. Hi, nice to meet you all virtually. My name's Emily Flashman. I'm representing the environmental change theme here this afternoon, but my research is based in the Department of Chemistry. So I am a biological chemist, and my team focuses on studies looking at enzymes which use oxygen and help control plants' responses to flooding. So our research looks to understand the structure and function relationships of these enzymes, so we can learn how they really work and how they respond to flooding at a molecular level. And then we can find ways to manipulate these enzymes and therefore modify the plant's response to flooding, with the ambition of trying to make plants more flood tolerant, make them able to survive being flooded for longer. I'm in my labs at the moment. You may see someone wander past me in the window behind. So that's the kind of thing that we get up to in our research. And that falls into the environmental change theme because we're trying to find a way of making crops more resilient to future climates. And so that will help ensure food security in the decades ahead, as we have global population increase coupled with the challenges of climate change. My work brings a molecular component to the environmental change theme, but we have, of course, there are other colleagues, other research fellows in this theme with a real sort of diverse range of research and areas of expertise that can come together to make a real interdisciplinary environment. So we have Monica, who works in the Environmental Change Institute, and she works on food systems and how they interface with politics, and she helps coordinate the UK's global food security systems. We have Freddie Otto, who's the co-director of the Environmental Change Institute, and she's interested in extreme weather events and whether they're likely to be caused by human activity, and whether the intensity of these extreme weather events is linked to climate change itself. We have Lizzie Jeffers, who's from the Department of Zoology, and she's interested in how environmental change impacts on plant chemistry and biogeocycling, so nitrogen cycling, and how resilient ecosystems are to environmental change. We have Katrina Charles from the School of Geography and the Environment, who's interested in water security and how resilient water supply systems are. And she does a lot of work linking her research to policy. And we have Timothy Clack, who comes from both the schools of archaeology and anthropology, and he's interested in human responses to climate change and how they can drive things like conflict. So we really have a diverse expertise in our theme, in the environmental change theme, and this, I think, is going to make it a really exciting theme to be part of, and I'm really excited about what we have planned. So even though we're working in such diverse areas, there are actually themes in common to which we can all bring something. So we can offer college supervisory roles that can sort of span the breadth of all research that has a link to environmental change. And we can offer anyone who's any graduate student who's working in any of these areas, the fact that you're going to interact with all of us, we hope, means that you can broaden your own perspectives by getting by you know, for example, if you're working on flooding with me, then you start to understand with Katrina the impact of water shortage or water supplies, or you might start to interact with Lizzie about how the responses that we're interested in interface with biogeocycling, and you might learn from Monica how the impact of flooding impacts on food security. So it will really sort of add an extra dimension to your research, I hope. And coupled with all of this, similar to the events that Lionel talked about for the AI theme, we hope to, or we plan to put on a range of events to which we can all bring our different areas of expertise. So for example, we might, taking the flooding theme again, we might have a theme of where we're going to focus on flooding as an aspect of environmental change for a term, and then we might, you know, each of the research fellows will bring their own research perspectives to that theme, and we should have some interesting discussions about that. So we're hopefully it'll be a really exciting, interdisciplinary, knowledge-rich environment where we're all really keen to learn more and progress our research with the best possible knowledge networks that we have. And we hope that you'll come and join us. Thank you. I'll pass over to Katrine. Oh, am I supposed to pass over to Mark? Yeah, Mark. Okay, I'm going to pass over to Mark. Sorry.
Emily, thank you very much. So I'm Mark Coles. I'm the theme lead for Cellular Life, which covers a wide range of research in the university. But what's really exciting is this intersection between the environmental theme, the AI theme, and the ethics. And so I just wanted to introduce a little bit of myself. So I'm a professor of immunology in the Kennedy Institute for Rheumatology, and I'm interested in inflammatory diseases and getting therapies to patients faster using a mix of computer modeling and experimental medicine. And so I want to introduce the theme because obviously we have a wide range of people, and so I'm just going to share a couple slides, which hopefully will have worked. So I just wanted to introduce you to the fellows in the cellular theme. We have a fellows really interested in a wide diversity, as well as being involved. I actually have founded 3 companies, 3 SMEs, and many of us are involved in outreach and in development of impact from our research. And so there's Kristalina, who's a professor in neuroscience, does some very exciting imaging work that will tie across to the AI theme. Ilian, does a lot of imaging associated with using fruit flies to model how the brain works. Tess, I'll come on to her work in a second, is in the Jenner Institute, and as Lionel mentioned earlier, responsible for the very exciting news about the Oxford vaccine. There's Ben, who works on computational genomics and looks at using systems biology to understand the control of cancer. There are a couple of fellows who, like Emily, who works in biological systems, but in a different theme. That just tells you how things can really come together in really exciting ways. Again, Katrine is in the ethics, but interested in the ethics in the context of biology and medicine. Esther, who is an official fellow. She's in neurobiology and developmental neurobiology. Jane, who works in virology and in infectious disease, and also does a lot of research on COVID-19. And Katerina is in the Dunn School of Pathology, so in a department which does lots of really exciting research into how the body works, and is involved in the public engagement. And so I just wanted to give you a flavor of the ideas that come through, because we all work on our research tends to be very focused, but actually at a bigger level, how the sort of intersections and what type of things as a theme. So I'm just going to show one slide, if I can get my computer to collaborate. And this is about the cellular life theme, but really how the themes come together. So I'm going to throw out the type of thing that we might be interested in. So pandemics, I think we are right in the middle of one. Drug resistance is slightly off the news, but we'll come back in. Re-emergence of global disease, well, that's already occurred, and really important, global warming. And we know how much travel and movement of people has been so profound into driving COVID-19. So, I mean, we don't have to go far back in history to smallpox, for example, that killed 500 million people. So it just shows the impact and the effects of changes on society. Obviously, global warming is changing the move of disease. Antibiotic resistance is coming along, and of course, these are if I gave this presentation 2 years ago, people would be like, oh, I don't know why he's so worried about pandemics. And I think we all know now that pandemics really do occur. So it's really exciting interdisciplinary questions, things that we really want people to come together around discussions of not just the biology, but also, how does the AI and environmental change, how do these things all come together? And I just want to celebrate the exciting news. I saw Tess on Tess GLAM, who's a professor who designed and been developing the Oxford COVID vaccine, on the front of the Daily Mail. So I was, I think I was, really excited to see a scientist out there with a really exciting news. And then I saw her on the back of Nature. So really exciting fellows doing really important, exciting work. And it's all about that intersection between the themes and exciting events that you can get involved with. So over to you, Alison, in terms of the...
Thank you. We're just going to take a quick pause here before we go on to Katrine to talk about ethics, because this is highly appropriate. We've just had a question from one of our live viewers asking about whether we're welcoming applicants from pure humanities subjects. And seeing as we have just recently launched our ethics and values theme, I think it's highly appropriate for Katrine to introduce herself and tell us about some of the focus on the humanities that we're hoping this new theme can bring in and be part of the college and this interdisciplinary community.
Thank you, Alison. So, hello, I'm Katrien de Volder, and I'm a senior research fellow at the Oxford Uhiro Centre for Practical Ethics, which is part of the philosophy faculty here in Oxford. And my own work lies in applied ethics, so ethics applied to real world problems. So for example, my current research is on the ethics of genome editing in livestock. So I try to answer ethical questions such as, should we use genetic modification to create hornless cattle so as to avoid painful debudding or dehorning procedures? Should we use genome editing to create cows and pigs that are resistant to infectious disease, perhaps diseases that can also be passed on to humans? Or should we create cows that are heat resistant, that fare better in hotter climates because we are going to a planet that will become hotter and hotter? I'm also interested in modern human genetics. So for example, should we use genetic testing or genetic screening technologies to, for example, avoid having a child with a disease or a disability? Should these technologies be used by parents who would actually like to choose for a child who will be deaf, for example, rather than a hearing child? So all sorts of interesting ethical questions, I think. So I'm very interested in thinking about these intricate ethical questions that arise from new developments in science, technology, and biomedicine. And that's why I'm really excited about the fact that Reuben College has recently decided to add a fourth research theme, so the ethics and values theme, which I co-lead together with Dr. Angeliki Kirisidou. So the importance of this theme, so think about it. So the 21st century will be dominated by global problems such as climate change, environmental destruction, weapons of mass destruction, spread of infectious disease. And I think that the fate of humanity not only depends on what we can do, so the science, but also on what we decide what should be done. And that's where the ethics comes in. So the right decisions require sort of critical reflection on the ethical challenges that lie ahead. And with this theme, the ethics and values theme, we sort of aim to encourage and support such critical reflection. So the focus is on tackling the ethical questions that arise from our research, from scientific research, but the approach will clearly be interdisciplinary. So to tackle these ethical questions, of course, we need the skills and the expertise of philosophers and ethicists, but also the skills from sociologists and anthropologists and psychologists and so on. So we need people with various backgrounds from the humanities to put the pieces of the ethical puzzle together. So in order to provide practical solutions to ethical problems as well. A good thing about the ethics and values theme is that it strongly links with all the other existing themes. For example, we'll focus on the ethics of AI and environmental ethics and biomedical ethics related to cellular life. And it also interconnects the three themes. So we'll organize all sorts of activities, for example, on a topic that is relevant to two or more of the themes. So for example, on the ethics of privacy, which would be relevant, of course, to the AI theme as well as to the cellular life theme. At the moment, the theme has three. Oh, have I been muted all the time? Okay, sorry, I just thought I muted myself. So there is Angeliki, who's a senior research fellow at the Ethox Center and the Wellcome Center for Ethics and the Humanities. And she currently works on the ethics of AI, but has worked on many other topics as well, such as the ethics of genomics. And there's Dr. Anders Sandberg, who works at the Future of Humanity Institute. So his work is also mainly in philosophy, but he has a background in computer science, neuroscience, and medical engineering. And he's incredibly enthusiastic about his work, and his enthusiasm is so contagious that I'm certain that all the students will be very happy and become enthusiastic about learning about the ethics of their work. So we plan different activities. I can talk about that, but sort of the main aim of the theme is then to sort of together, so the students and the fellows together reflect on the ethical questions that are relevant to your research. I think I can pass on to Janet now.
Thank you very much. Just before we jump to Janet, to follow up on Amit's question about the humanities, and how can you foresee historians or linguists coming into this theme, and how comfortable might they be in this sort of what might seem quite a scientific and technology environment? Katrine, if you could first reflect on that, and then
I think
Lionel.
Historians are relevant to almost anything, I guess. I mean, we need to learn from the past to think about how we will tackle contemporary problems. So I think in that sense, it's sort of clear that we will definitely benefit from historians. But maybe also, I mean, there are also ethical aspects related to their research that they might find interesting. So I'm thinking about, for example, museums who acquired certain artifacts in the past that belonged to other countries and they were illegitimately acquired. There's an ethical question: what should be done with these artifacts? And does it matter that they were acquired, say, 50 years ago or 2000 years ago? I mean, does that make an ethical difference? So there's definitely also ethical questions that are relevant to historians, I think. So
if I may just come in to back up Katrine on that. We've only got an hour, so we can only give you a few examples. The type of students that we will have in Reuben College will cover far more subjects that we've got time to discuss. From the humanities to medicine, via engineering and chemistry and zoology. So we don't have time to go through everything in detail, but what I would say is that our senior tutor, Dr. Caroline Mawson, right at the end, will talk briefly about the courses that we're open for. We can't be open for absolutely every single course the university offers, but we're open for the great majority of them. In terms of, we have a list of masters for which we'll take students, and likewise in terms of the PhD, or as we call them, DPhil programs in Oxford. So if you're doing something different to what we're talking about today, your place may still be Reuben College if you want to interact with people outside of your own field and have these stimulating discussions at lunch, in the evening, etc., when you're not in your department or your lab. So don't worry if we're talking about a topic which is not going to be the topic of your master's or PhD. Thank you very much, Katrine. If I could hand over to, is it Janet or Chris next?
Why don't we go to Janet, because we were just talking about the museums that Katrine brought up.
Okay.
Great. Thank you very much. My name is Janet Stott, and I'm Fellow in Public Engagement with Research at Reuben College and Deputy Director of the Museum of Natural History, which, as Lionel mentioned, is right next to the college. I'm just going to share my screen. There, has that come up okay? Is that great? Okay, thank you. So, as you've heard already, as a new college, we have an amazing opportunity to create an academic community for the 21st century, focusing on innovation and an interdisciplinary approach to solving big problems. I'm going to talk a little bit briefly about, apologies, my screen is not moving on. There we are. I'm going to talk a little bit about public engagement with research and also about our unique partnership with the gardens, libraries and museums of the University of Oxford. So Reuben is absolutely unique amongst Oxford colleges for having embedded public engagement with research in its ethos right from the start. And this is a key part of Reuben being an open, inclusive and outward-facing institution, which has already been mentioned several times by my colleagues. So a little bit of the details about public engagement with research. We believe that engaging society with research is an integral part of what it means to be an academic. And it brings benefits to both the academics, the researchers, and to the public. You've just heard about some of the amazing research that is going on within the college, within the academics. This research is of huge societal interest. So sharing that with the public is a really important part of what many of our researchers do. What's really unique about Reuben is this really interdisciplinary approach. And we will be bringing that to our public engagement with research. The college has got appointed 2 public engagement with research fellows, and many of the fellows are already bringing significant expertise and experience in public engagement with research. They're running really innovative programs ranging from art initiatives, engaging with artists with research, through podcasts, through schools and festival outreach, and that will be developing more over the years. All of the Reuben students, our aim is, will have the opportunity to receive training in public engagement with research, and then to run or participate in your own initiatives working with other Reuben students, receiving mentoring and support from within the college and able to use college resources. This will include the Digital Innovation Hub, which Chris is going to talk about in just a minute. So we are envisaging that this extracurricular enrichment offer that the college will offer will really set you up. So our vision is that the skills that you as students will have the opportunity to develop in public engagement will equip you to be engaged professionals in your next step, whether that is further engagement in academia or in other career paths. Public engagement skills will equip you for that next step. I'd also just briefly like to talk about another unique aspect of Reuben, and that's our partnership with GLAM, the university's gardens, libraries and museums. The college building will have embedded within it a brand new collections, teaching and research centre for the GLAM institutions, as well as the Radcliffe Science Library, part of the Bodleian Library within the building. Just briefly, you can see the six, GLAM consists of 6 institutions, the world famous Bodleian Libraries, the Botanic Garden and Harcourt Arboretum, and 4 extraordinary internationally famous museums, the Ashmolean Museum, Museum of Natural History, Museum of the History of Science, and the Pitt Rivers Museums. Between them, these institutions have over 21 million objects, specimens and printed objects, which makes them one of the largest and most important research repositories in the world. In 2019, we welcomed over 3 million visitors and over 100,000 school students. So what does this bring to you as a Reuben student? So this partnership means that you've got direct access to specialist expertise and also opportunities to engage much wider audiences with your research than might be possible with students with other colleges. So here is just a photo. I've shown you several other photos of an example of a research team from within the zoology department engaging family audiences in really quite complicated research that they are doing. But you can see in a really lively academic game-based format. And we are anticipating that Reuben students will have these kind of opportunities if they're interested in them. That's a bit of a whistle-stop tour of GLAM and PER. I'll stop now, but very happy to answer any questions at the end. And I will pass over to Chris. Thanks.
Thank you very much. So hello everybody, my name's Chris Payton. So I'm a medical doctor and a clinical researcher in the Centre for Tropical Medicine and Global Health, and I'm also an official fellow for IT and innovation at Reuben College. And my fellowship is really around trying to support the students and the fellows, thinking about how we use IT in innovative ways and how we support the activities of the college that are going to involve IT. So I work closely with the IT services group at the university to support the development of the college so that we've got the appropriate IT equipment, the AV facilities, making sure that we're ready for 21st century teaching, and that fellows and students are going to have access to state-of-the-art video conferencing technologies, which we're all using nowadays, but is going to become even more important over the next few years. And we're also developing an innovation studio, which I'll talk a little bit about in a minute. So I've just got a few slides to share. Let's just see if I can do that. So I hope you can see my screen there. Let me know if that's sharing properly. Okay, that looks good. So So the innovation and entrepreneurship strategic theme crosses across the research themes, but it's all about fellows with an interest in supporting students and doing research in the area of innovation and entrepreneurship. And we've got a number of fellows in the college who are interested in this, whether it's for innovating in creating a new vaccine for COVID-19, or whether it's developing new AI or computer software, or even research around the process of innovation and how we can get innovations out from the lab through the university spin-out processes and into commercial use to benefit the public and improve our lives. So you can see we've got a number of different fellows here, all coming from different areas that can help you. If you've got a passion for innovation and entrepreneurship, we've got fellows who can help support you develop your ideas, but also navigate those hurdles that you come across when you're trying to turn your science or your research ideas into practice. So as a couple of examples, I just wanted to show a couple of the projects that I've been involved in that have involved this process of innovation, taking it from an idea to reality. So my work is in global health, and this is an example of an app that we developed for supporting the training of healthcare workers in Africa. And it's a mobile app that's been developed to allow a healthcare worker to download onto their own phone and then learn the steps they need to take in order to resuscitate a newborn child. And working with the Oxford University Innovation Group, we ran a crowdfunding campaign which really kicked us off and helped us get set up developing this innovation. We've also been exploring new technologies and how they can be used for innovation. So this is an example of using VR technologies. And we worked with a commercial company called HTC who make virtual reality headsets, and they supported us to develop a truly immersive simulation training experience where you can go into a virtual reality hospital and learn the steps that you need to take in order to manage an emergency. Since the COVID-19 crisis came along, we also have been working with a local Oxford company to develop a COVID-19 specific simulation training, where we've developed avatars and 3D models to help us develop this type of training, and then we're integrating that into our teaching platform. Another innovation project is that's also involves another fellow of the college, David Clifton, is working in Vietnam to use new AI technologies to try and improve ICU care for patients. So the challenge in low-income settings, such as Vietnam, is that they still need to provide the same kind of level of care, but affording the type of technologies we have in high-income countries is quite difficult. But with new AI algorithms and new ways of doing things, we think we can dramatically reduce the cost of doing things like monitoring, creating alerts for doctors and nurses, improving who can use things like ultrasound techniques, so you don't need so much specialist knowledge, but can be guided by the computer. So those are just a couple of the types of projects that I'm personally working on, and all the other fellows involved in IT innovation and entrepreneurship have got a whole range of different types of research, not just AI, but also in cellular life and environmental change. And we'd be passionate about supporting you to develop your research ideas and turn them into true innovations. And then finally, just to talk about Innovation Studio. So this is going to be a very special place within the college. It's going to be a multi-use space. So it'll be a room where people can go, they can brainstorm ideas, they can work with fellows, work with other students to flesh out their ideas and work out how they can turn an idea into an innovation, but also support innovative ways of teaching and learning, and also support the events that are going to be going on in the college. So for example, we'll be having a podcasting suite, so people can come and do live podcasts, which will be available for students and fellows, and also use new ways of broadcasting out to bring in people virtually, so you can have a much more interactive and exciting way of reaching people at a distance. And then to support the kind of innovations such as VR or augmented reality, we want to be able to track people as they're moving around in this space, so that we can then project our physical selves into virtual form, which I think is going to be a very exciting way of increasing participation in learning as we move to this more virtual world that we seem to be entering nowadays. So that's all I wanted to say, really, and I'll stop sharing now, and I'll hand back to Alison.
Thank you so much, Chris. Well, what a wonderful taste of all the different research expertise and ideas and techniques that we have on offer in Reuben College. And I'd like to hand over now to Caroline Mawson, who is our senior tutor. It's a strange title that is in an Oxford context fairly well understood, but I'm going to let Caroline tell you exactly what that role means in the Reuben College context.
Thanks, Alison. It's been amazing to see what's gone before. I hope, am I on the screen correctly, Alison? Hopefully so. I managed to catch some of the speakers before, and I'm just so enthused and amazed by what they can offer our Reuben students. And for the brain and for the budding entrepreneur, my role and that of the college's bursar is a little more pedestrian. We are there for your body, for your soul. We are there to try and make your college your home. That includes the accommodation. We're offering single accommodation to all first-year graduates, but also the building needs to be a place where you can celebrate your successes, but also share your failures, to chat to other people across the disciplines, not just for the intellectual synergies that provides, but because they're your friends, because you're going to go for a disco in the hall with them that night, because you're finding out the nearest a cappella group. You come into our offices because you don't know where to buy an alarm clock. You're not quite sure how to access the disability advisory service, the counselling service. You want to check what time the nurse is popping in. You're not quite sure about that vegan dinner you had last night and you'd like to suggest some improvements for our menus. So I think as college officers, we're not promising Tanya and myself the intellectual enrichment the other colleagues here are providing, but to give you a safe space, a haven, and an opportunity for these to truly be the best years of your life, immersed in an extended family. And what are we doing at the moment in that? Well, as Alison suggested, we've opened ourselves up to applicants for more than 150 courses. And that means that these students, once accepted by the relevant university department, their dossiers will be passed on to us if they have named Reuben as their college of preference. And we'll be able to say, yeah, that's great. We really want this student to be part of this college community. And we'll link them up with one of the fellows who will be there to provide advice throughout the duration of their studies. We then, once we've welcomed you in, we'll want to support you throughout your course, talk about funding, how's the relationship with your advisor, with your supervisor. We'll meet up regularly, and we're there to spend some downtime with Tanya and I to talk through your graduate experiences, not just on the course base, nor the intellectual enrichment. This week, we've been speaking to college doctors. We've been speaking to our new graduate president, who we've elected to be there to welcome the freshers. We've already got, as it were, graduates on board helping us set up. So we're all ready to welcome you with open arms. I think I'll take questions, Alison, but that's a whistle stop.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Yes, I was going to pass over to Lionel. You are on mute at the moment, so do unmute before you tell us more with any additional thoughts
Just to be absolutely clear, when you come to do research in Oxford, you will have a supervisor for your master's or your PhD in whichever department you are. It could be history, it could be classics, it could be philosophy, it could be chemistry, it could be engineering, it could be tropical medicine, whichever department you're in. If you're in one of the courses that Caroline mentioned, so that's your supervisor. But in the college, you have a graduate advisor. And all of us on this just about will be graduate advisors. So we will be advising. This is not trying to second guess your supervisor or tell you that your supervisor is not doing it correctly from the point of view of science. It gives you an independent person to talk to, because when you do research, it's fantastic activity when you do a master's or a PhD, but you have huge highs and troughs. One day you think you're going to win the next Nobel Prize in physics or in chemistry or whatever it may be. The next day you think my experiment or the essay I'm trying to write, the dissertation I'm trying to write is meaningless. And you will experience that as a graduate student. You can obviously talk to your supervisor about that, but sometimes you need a more friendly shoulder to lean on at that point. That's what the common room is there for. Or you can have a one-to-one meeting if you want. You can talk to your fellow graduates in college, have a rant if you want, talk to how you feel about things, and you can also talk to your graduate advisor about if you have, some doubts during the troughs, and if you want somebody to share the peaks with. That's what a graduate advisor is there for. Obviously, Caroline's mentioned the social life. College has got lots of social life. That can be, as she mentioned, the a cappella singers. It can be the rowing club. It can be the film nights, all sorts of activities. And again, you find that in your college, with, of course, still some university societies to go and join in. But it's fantastic to be a member of a community, to have breakfast in college or in your college accommodation, to go in for lunch whenever you want, and to join in the dinners. The dinners will probably be one informal dinner a week and one formal Oxford type dinner, when we still follow some of the best traditions that have built up in the last 900 years of having this university somewhere in the southeast of England. We're willing to take any questions, any of us, about anything. We're happy for the next 10-15 minutes to take questions with Alison as the Master of Ceremonies.
Thanks very much, Lionel. I'm not seeing any questions on the chat at the moment, so do pop them in there. I'm looking at it if you have any. I have a question. It might be for Katrine and Lionel. It's kind of been a burning question for me because I've been interested in AI for a while, although I know nothing about it. We often see headlines, scary headlines about AI and the risks involved. So for Lionel first, as the specialist in the field, what is the worst thing that can happen with AI or without AI? And then maybe Katrine can tell me from her ethical standpoint.
Well, first of all, the general answer and then the specific answer. The general answer is AI is no different from, say, nuclear technology. You can use nuclear technology for clean energy, especially as we consider, and indeed one of our new fellows is a net zero professor. As we drive towards net zero in 2050, nuclear energy has got an important part to play in that. But it can also make atom bombs and hydrogen bombs. And it's the same for AI. You can find tiny traces of cancer in a scan, in a CT scan, well ahead even of the human experts with an AI algorithm. But likewise, I just give you one little example that if you use deep fakes, and they've been used, for example, Nancy Pelosi in the American context, Keir Starmer here, the Labour politician in our last general election, their videos were doctored using AI technology. That is obviously very dangerous, and there are other dangers. We talk about driverless vehicles. You have flying vehicles as well, not just on the road, and they can be used, like drones, to take out enemies in whatever sectors they are. And instead of being driven by humans, they could very well be driven by AI algorithms. The idea, of course, is to understand all these things, to think about the ethical context, as Katrina, I'm sure, will want to talk about, but it is all about making informed decisions. The danger about AI is that it can become so complicated, or deliberately by the experts, they might complicate in such a way that anybody outside the field will not really understand the technology. Actually, artificial intelligence, machine learning is based on fairly simple mathematical principles of interpolation, extrapolation, and so on, which can be explained with a mathematical framework. And if you demystify AI, robots, all the kinds of things that appear in science fiction movies. The idea is then to use proper language like mathematics to put limitations as to what they can or cannot do, and then that can drive the discussion forward within a reasoned framework. That's quite a long answer, but it's only just the beginning of the kind of discussion we would have at Reuben. And at this point, I would bring in Katrine to think about the ethical dimensions of what I've said and what is lacking in what I've said.
Thanks. Just before we jump to Katrine, only because we're fairly limited on time and I'm very eager to hear what you said, but we have had a few questions come in on the chat.
Okay.
A couple are about the scholarships. How do you apply? Who were they for? Can you be international? And the other question, I'm going to direct either to Caroline or Lionel for the second question. When you see a student including Reuben College as their first choice in the application, what will be the quality that you look for? So if Caroline, you could answer about the scholarships first and then fight it between yourself about what you're looking for in the students. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll try and gazump Lionel a little bit too on the selection criteria, which are up on our web, for example. So scholarships, yes, we are so delighted to be able to offer a really good swathe of scholarships. Sadly, not enough for every student who's going to come to us, but a really strong number of scholarships, even in our first opening year. And yes, for international students as well as for home students. Alison might be able to put up the link to our website page. We will offer about 15 fully funded student places. That will be to cover fees and maintenance for students in various categories this coming year. And then we'll also be supporting some other students, for example, receiving UKRI matched funding. How do you apply for scholarships? Well, that's the really good bit, is that you don't have to. By applying for a place in the university, if you're accepted by the university, you'll automatically be considered for all the scholarships you're eligible for. So you can look up in the university's fees and funding search to see, depending on your country of ordinary residence, the course, PGT, PGR, and so forth, what scholarships you might be eligible for. Most of them you'll be considered for, irrespective of the college to which you apply. And if you're successful in getting it, you'll then be migrated across to that college. So we absolutely hope that students put us as their first choice. But for our fully funded scholarships, you don't actually have to. You don't need to submit any further materials. We'll be looking at you as you were for application on academic achievement and potential. We're doing that in consultation with university assessors as well. So there's no need for anything specific. And then when I look at, if I can jump really quickly to the selection criteria, and again, so there's a link on our website, what we're looking for. Again, it's not too different to what the university is looking for. When we look, dossier will be looked at by the fellow who would be working closest to your area of study. So obviously, if you're in an MSc in practical ethics, it might be Katrine looking at your application, just looking to check that there's an intellectual fit there. And then we very much hope that we can say yes to that and welcome you in. But again, no separate application required, and no need to, as it were, focus any of your materials specifically onto a Reuben application.
So very quickly on what we're looking for. Sometimes it's quite difficult to understand how Oxford works. And for undergraduates, it's the colleges that accept the students, and then departments have to teach them. For graduates, which is what we're talking about today, because we're a graduate college, it is the departments that accept you. So you have to be accepted by a department first. History, classics, zoology, chemistry, they have to accept you first, and then your dossier goes to the college. Obviously, if you're accepted by the department, you've already crossed a very high threshold, and then we're looking for matches, as Caroline was saying, not necessarily one-to-one, but in what you've written as to why you want to apply for Reuben College. We're looking to see whether it's really some of the qualities, some of the interest in this interdisciplinary, for example. That's not the only one. There may be other reasons why you want to join Reuben College that you may have picked up from our website. If we see anything at all that looks like a match, we're very likely to say yes, but our numbers are limited.
Thanks very much, both of you. A more specific question for clarification about the scholarships, about underrepresented backgrounds as a criterion. What does that mean? And is it specific countries? Because we do specify Israel as a country of focus for at least one scholarship.
That's right, Alison. So we have been given, as part of our founding endowment grant, monies to support graduate scholarships. And some of those will be in supporting students ordinarily resident in Israel. So some of our scholarships are hypothecated in perpetuity for students already or ordinarily resident in Israel. With the other scholarships money, we're working in conjunction with the university to see how that can be most effective, and where these scholarships will go will change over time. So at the moment, we're tying down scholarships for students from underrepresented backgrounds, and I'm not quite at the moment able to announce what those backgrounds are. We've got these sort of 3 different categories in mind, and that will come and be announced within the next 2 or 3 months, I would hope. In fact, less time than that, I hope. So yes, the Israeli ones were already predefined. The others, we know we want to work with students from different underrepresented backgrounds, and that will be at least 3 different categories we'll be encompassing in that, and international as well as UK based, but I can't quite announce the specifics of them yet, I'm afraid.
Thanks very much, Caroline. And since I don't see any other questions in the chat just at the moment, I wonder if we're about ready to wrap up, but I wonder if Katrina had anything to add just about the question I raised of worries of AI or reflections on what Lionel talked about. And then
briefly,
after that, Lionel, if you can just wrap us up and wave everyone goodbye. But Katrina.
I'm happy to briefly say something about it, though I don't work on the ethics of AI, but so I think one of the ethical issues that arises is one about privacy. So if AI devices are used, for example, to monitor your health, this is very vulnerable information. So there's questions about medical confidentiality. There are questions about bias against certain ethnic minorities. So AI can be used in crime prediction. So for example, to determine to which areas or to which groups police officers should be sent to prevent crime. And there are worries that sort of the algorithms used will be biased against certain ethnic groups. But then of course the question arises, humans are biased as well, and will AI be better than humans? This is just to give a couple of examples.
Okay,
Fantastic.
back
Thank
to
you
me.
very much.
Right, I shall refrain myself because AI for healthcare is my actual research area, so I will not say anything about that. The ethnic groups, I'll just say one thing because I think Katrine's raised an important point. But if you remember, I mentioned the mathematical framework. There's a very clear framework. Are the minorities that Katrina actually mentioned actually represented in the training data for your machine learning algorithms? First of all, yes, are they represented or not? And B, in the way they're represented, is there a bias against them? So absolutely, we can deal with those questions, and it's exactly the kind of discussion that we would open up at one of our seminars in Reuben College. So I think we've given you a flavor. It's only a flavor. If your own particular topic of research wasn't represented, that doesn't mean you shouldn't come to Reuben College. In an hour, you can't cover all the things. You've seen 5 or 6 fellows. There are 33 fellows at present, and there'll probably be about 40 by the time our first students arrive next October. Have a look at all the courses we're supporting. As Caroline mentioned, we are supporting a very large percentage of the university courses for research. So please take a look. And especially if you're a pioneer, if you really want to be part of that first cohort that will go down in history as the cohort of students in Oxford's first college in the 21st century, if you are that sort of person, inquisitive, wanting to learn, happy to take in new inputs, then please apply to Reuben College, and we look forward to seeing as many of you as possible next October.
Thank you very much, everyone, and thanks for attending. We hope to see you all again very soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.